welcome to the local campaign here on Rogers TV. We thank you so much for joining us. Our focus today is on the riding of Ottawa South. Before I get to the introduction of all of our candidates, I'll go over the format with you because it does differ from previous formats where we had a debate style. For various reasons, we are not doing that. We are doing this virtually, and we're calling it a question and answer session. So each candidate is going to have the following: an opening statement. They will get their opening statement. They will have 60 seconds for that, followed by a number of questions, and again, the same 60-second time period to answer those questions. And then at the end, every candidate will have an opportunity for their closing statements, which will again be 60 seconds. So with that being said, let me introduce you to our candidates in alphabetical order, starting with Nira Dookeran of the Green Party, John Fraser from the Liberal Party, Morgan Gay from the NDP, and Laryy Wasslen from the Communist Party. It is now time for our opening statements. A reminder to all of our candidates, you have 60 seconds for your opening statement. We start with Nira Dookeran of the Green Party. You have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
My name is Nira Dookeran, and I'm proud to be running as the Green Party candidate in Ottawa South for this current provincial election. I've lived and worked in Ottawa South for 15 years. I taught high school for 31 years in Toronto and Ottawa, and I retired 3 years ago from Ridgemont High School to devote more time to community work and political involvement. I believe the Ontario Greens offer the best plan to create the communities we want here in Ottawa South and to address the most pressing issues we're experiencing at this disruptive and disrupting time in history. Affordable housing and affordability overall, with the rising cost of living, inflation, interest rates, and a runaway real estate market, the crisis of our healthcare system, local economic development, boarded up storefronts, lack of workers. How will we address these local priorities? Greens have answers.
John Fraser from the Liberal Party. You have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
For the past 23 years, I've had the privilege of working for the people of Ottawa South. The past 8 years, I've had the honor of serving as our community's voice at Queen's Park. I am proud to have worked alongside many of you to make Ottawa South stronger, expanding CHEO, the Ottawa Hospital, St. Patrick's Home. At Queen's Park and at home, I worked to expand access to palliative care and vision screening in schools, introduce legislation aimed at protecting vulnerable workers and increasing paid sick days. I have worked across partisan lines to deliver things like Rowan's Law, concussion legislation that protects our young athletes, and a bill to establish a registry for defibrillators here in Ontario. Throughout the past 8 years, my priorities have remained the same: fighting for the things that matter most to families: world-class healthcare, great schools, support for our most vulnerable, a safe and clean environment, and a strong economy. And I'm asking for your support to continue to working hard for you.
Morgan Gay from the NDP. It is now time for your opening statement. You have 60 seconds.
Well, my name is Morgan Gay. I'm the NDP candidate here in Ottawa South. I live in Ottawa South. I've been a resident here for over 15 years. I'm active in our community. I'm on the Alta Vista Community Association as a secretary there. I'm also on the Heron Road Emergency Food Center Board, also active with the Billings Estate Board. My wife teaches at Alta Vista Public School. My daughter goes to Canterbury. I'm running in this election because I am fed up. We keep voting the same way, and we keep getting the same outcomes, and things keep getting worse. We have people in our community that can't afford a place to live. We have people in our community that can't get a post-secondary education because they can't afford it. We have people in our community that literally are dying because they can't get the services that they need. This didn't start with Doug Ford. This started with 15 years of the Liberals in charge. And so we have a plan, and I'm running for the NDP because I believe we have a plan that can address the problems that we face here in our community. And I hope to have your support in this election campaign.
Laryy Wasslen from the Communist Party. It is now time for your opening statement. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. My name is Laryy Wasslen, and I'm your Communist Party candidate here in Ottawa South. We have very, very serious problems here in Ontario. Doug Ford and his millionaire cronies are raking in tons of money, while you and I, the working class, are driven deeper into financial difficulty and deeper poverty. We need more than capitalist gimmicks to get out of these problems. Buy your vote for the cost of a license sticker, buck a beer, buck a ride, liberals dressed in orange, or green capitalists. We need real solutions. A people's alternative to the latest capitalist crisis. Only the Communist Party offers real working class solutions to put people and nature before profit.
First question. Cost of living is perhaps the biggest issue for many in this election. What will you do to help people afford their day-to-day expenses? Nira Dookeran of the Green Party, you have 60 seconds.
We need to I think the first thing we need to do is make sure that we've got housing affordability. Safe, affordable housing is the centerpiece of all economic well-being. And so the first thing we need to do is make sure that we have enough affordable housing for home buyers and affordable social housing for those renting, so that everybody can have a safe, affordable home.
Same question. Cost of living is perhaps the biggest issue for many in this election. What will you do to help people afford their day-to-day expenses? John Fraser of the Liberal Party, you have 60 seconds.
Many families are struggling to make ends meet right now. So the proposals that we have put forward are a buck a ride transit till 2024. That's going to take 400,000 cars off the road. More importantly, it'll give people an option and make a difference in their daily lives. We're going to remove the provincial HST from prepared meals under $20. So those meals that you get at a supermarket sometime or at a corner store, we're going to take the provincial HST off of that. That's going to make a difference in people's everyday lives. We're going to add $1,000 to the provincial canes for those Ontario seniors that qualify for it. That'll make a big difference in their lives. We're also going to raise the minimum wage to $16 an hour and look at a regional minimum wage, because $16 an hour doesn't mean the same in all communities.
Morgan Gay of the NDP, same question for you. Cost of living is perhaps the biggest issue for many in this election. What will you do to help people afford their day-to-day expenses?
Well, there's a lot of things that we need to do to make things more affordable for folks. One of the things we need to do is make certain things that people have to pay for accessible for free. So that's the medication, the dental care, the vision care that people are having to pay out of pocket now to be able to receive mental health services in many cases as well. All of those should be part of our OHIP plan so that people don't have to pay for them. Also, we've seen a massive proliferation of low-wage and contract work in our community. So what we need to do is raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour. And at the same time, we need to make sure that we take steps to ensure that housing is affordable for people in our community and that people can access benefits without having to stick with the same employer for year after year because of the contract work that's happening. We have a plan to do that. We are going to build 250,000 homes that are affordable for folks. That'll be a first step to make sure that people get things that they need and to achieve affordability in our community.
Laryy Wasslen of the Communist Party, same question to you. Cost of living is perhaps the biggest issue for many in this election. What will you do to help people afford their day-to-day expenses?
Well, this is a crucial question, and every day at the door, I'm told by people that this is the burning issue. First of all, the critical issue here is the fact that the millionaires are making tons of money, price gouging us at the pump, at the grocery store. What we really need are price controls, which enable us to earn a living and pay for the things that we need for our families. So price controls is a number one solution. Secondly, we need better wages and living standards to raise our incomes. The Communist Party is calling for a $23 minimum wage and rising wages all across the board. Those are two of the most important aspects of cost of living, addressing the cost of living. Thank you.
Next question. The Ottawa region has had its fair share of difficulties with their public transit master plan, specifically the LRT. Regardless of what comes out of the provincial inquiry, will you help ensure residents get a system they can rely on? John Fraser of the Liberal Party, you have 60 seconds to answer.
Yes, we have to learn the lessons from the Commission of Inquiry. Most definitely, fully support Phase 3 of Ottawa's transit plan. And committing to 50% of the cost of that plan, as the city and the mayor have asked. We're also going to support over the next 18 months our transit system getting back up and going again by Buckerai Transit. That's going to make a big difference in people's daily lives, attract people to transit, especially with the price of gas right now. It'll get 400,000 cars off the road. Public transit is the great equalizer. It allows people to get to work, to go to school, to get to doctor's appointments, and to make that more affordable, I think will make a big difference in strengthening our healthcare, our transit system here in Ottawa.
Same question for Morgan Gay of the NDP. The Ottawa region has had its fair share of difficulties with their public transit master plan, specifically the LRT. Regardless of what comes out of the provincial inquiry, will you help ensure residents get a system they can rely on?
Our transit system is a shambles in Ottawa, and much of that can be laid at the feet of the provincial Liberals when they were in charge. When the Conservatives, I think it's clear that the Conservatives don't really believe in public transit. They've made that pretty clear in terms of the cuts they've made, but it was the Liberals that insisted that there be a public-private partnership for the building of the LRT. And what we have seen is an utter fiasco because of that. There is no accountability. Even the Auditor General made the point that we paid an additional overall $8 billion in this province because of public-private partnerships, and they do not work. So what we need to do is invest heavily in transit. We're going to reintroduce the 50% model so that municipalities have the money they need for transit. For transit is also a critical piece for us to tackle climate change. And so transit is a top priority for myself and for our party. And there's a lot more we can do to make transit far more accessible for people in this community.
Same question to Laryy Wasslen of the Communist Party. The Ottawa region has had its fair share of difficulties with their public transit master plan, specifically the LRT. Regardless of what comes out of the provincial inquiry, will you help ensure residents get a system they can rely on?
Yes, the LRT, this is a great question again. The LRT is a classic example of a P3. A public-private partnership where the public bears the cost and the private corporations get the profit. So the Communist Party is really the only party in this election which demands an end to P3s. These should be publicly owned and democratically controlled. This is crucial for not only the LRT, but other major projects here in the city, including healthcare and other critical activities. So stopping the P3s is important. Also important is expanding public services to get away from privatization again, in particular in the healthcare field. So these are two critical issues that I think the Communist Party offers a serious solution to. Thank you.
Same question to Nira Dookeran of the Green Party. The Ottawa region has had its fair share of difficulties with their public transit master plan, specifically the LRT. Regardless of what comes out of the provincial inquiry, will you help ensure residents get a system they can rely on?
Yeah, I think one of the first things we need to do with transit, the other parties are offering free transit. Our idea is to offer a 50% reduction in transit fares and see if that increases ridership. We also need to be electrifying more buses, and we need to be creating more routes. The pandemic has changed people's work patterns, and we have a lot of routes and an LRT going through downtown. People aren't going downtown to work in the large numbers that they used to. So what we need to do is look at the bus routes that are there and put the bus routes where they're needed and the LRT routes where they're needed to move people around affordably and efficiently. We've seen, and we heard in the news this morning, people wait. Well, that's because of poor master planning, but people are sitting waiting and buses aren't coming because there aren't enough operators for those buses. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on the LRT and OC Transpo in general. Thank you.
Next question. Our healthcare system buckled during the pandemic. Considering that healthcare is by far the largest provincial expenditure, how can it be fixed without raising taxes substantially? Morgan Gay of the NDP, you have 60 seconds.
Well, our healthcare system is a shambles for a couple of reasons. First off, because the Conservatives made cuts to healthcare before the pandemic and they never fully returned that funding. But let's be clear, it was the Liberals, when they were in charge, who froze hospital budgets, who laid off over 1,500 nurses, who made all kinds of cuts and changes to our healthcare system. Even Kathleen Wynne said that she regrets the cuts. What we need to do is hire nurses and PSWs, and we need to stop laying off nurses. We need to expand the people that do the work in our healthcare system, and we have not been doing that now. We also need, we believe in the NDP, that if people have access to pharmacare, to dental care, and to vision care through our OHIP system, it's going to greatly alleviate the pressure that we see on our acute care system now. But we cannot continue to nickel and dime our healthcare system. We need to invest heavily in it, unlike the Liberals who made cuts, and unlike the Conservatives who have done the same.
Same question for Laryy Wasslen of the Communist Party. Our healthcare system buckled during the pandemic. Considering that healthcare is by far the largest provincial expenditure, how can it be fixed without raising taxes substantially?
How can we fix the healthcare system? A very good question. Ontario, as you know, pays the lowest per capita to support its healthcare system of all the provinces in Canada. We can fix this. How do we fix this? Without raising taxes? Well, I would say this. Raise the taxes on the corporations and the rich and cut the taxes on the working class. Corporate taxes need to be doubled to 23%. We need to have a gradual income tax that targets those who can pay. So this is very important. We need to ensure that our healthcare workers are earning our proper salaries. So we have to do away with the attack that Doug Ford put on our public healthcare workers. So these are very important things that we can do. Tax the rich, tax the corporations, and cut taxes while improving services to the working class. Thank you.
Same question for Nira Dookeran of the Green Party. Our healthcare system buckled during the pandemic. Considering that healthcare is by far the largest provincial expenditure, how can it be fixed without raising taxes substantially?
That's a question of having an integrated, comprehensive master plan where we're not duplicating services on the one hand, and then on the other hand, having huge gaps in service provision, for example, mental health and addictions. And therefore, when those people suffering from those disorders and addictions end up in emergency situations, it ends up costing the whole system in human and financial costs a lot more. So what we need is a better integrated preventative healthcare system, and we certainly need to bring mental health care, as the Greens plan in no uncertain terms will do, to bring it under OHIP, because mental health and physical well-being are completely integrated, and we need to be treating them together, all under OHIP, public health care.
Same question to John Fraser of the Liberal Party. Our healthcare system buckled during the pandemic. Considering that healthcare is by far the largest provincial expenditure, how can it be fixed without raising taxes substantially?
Well, I think if you take a look at our fully costed plan, we put forward $1 billion to address surgical wait times that have been really extended, delayed surgeries over COVID, and that's causing a lot of hardship in people's lives. Really, most importantly, we need to look at healthcare human resources. So you can't actually care for people if you don't have the people that you need there. And we're going to immediately repeal Bill 124, which is driving nurses out of the field. We're going to add 100,000 healthcare workers, pay tuition for those nurses and doctors who train and commit to us to work in a remote community. Now, the other thing that's happened right now is that kids in every service wait longer than adults. So we've committed to the Make Kids Count campaign here at CHEO, which is going to address surgical wait times, diagnostic wait times for mental health.
Next question. Ontario desperately needs more skilled tradespeople. How will you help attract and encourage more people to consider a career in the skilled trades? Laryy Wasslen of the Communist Party, you have 60 seconds.
Skilled trades are very important, as are many, many others throughout the city here. One of the most important ways of dealing with this is to improve our college system and have more people going through that. Another important way of dealing with this is to invite those people who immigrate to Canada to fully participate in the economy. As you know for sure, we have many landed immigrants, newcomers to Canada, who are blocked from working in the skilled trades as well as in the professions. These need to be, we need to get rid of these bottlenecks and ensure that people can contribute. In terms of residents, we also would like to have a system where all residents have an opportunity to vote, not just citizens, but residents. They contribute to society, they pay taxes, they should be able to vote. Thank you.
Same question to Nira Dookeran of the Green Party. Ontario desperately needs more skilled tradespeople. How will you help attract and encourage more people to consider a career in the skilled trades?
So I'm a retired high school teacher. I taught for 31 years. I've taught in very academic high schools, and I've taught in very technical and vocational high schools. And I think that what we need to do is make sure, redouble and triple our efforts among young people to make training and the honor of the skilled trades, the honor of manual work, we need to make that attractive and attract people into that. We also need to offer retraining to many of the people who are out of work now, people in the hospitality industry, and other areas that have been hit by the pandemic. Those people need retraining, and offering free and subsidized training to those people in the skilled trades, and then making sure that people in the trades have not just honor and dignity, but proper health care, decent wages, and all the other benefits of dignified work is how we attract more people into the skilled trades in Ontario. Thank you.
John Fraser of the Liberal Party, same question for you. Ontario desperately needs more skilled tradespeople. How will you help attract and encourage more people to consider a career in the skilled trades?
Thank you. We'll have to begin by ensuring that we have those classes available in high school. So understand that it's a great career and a great option as they're going through high school. We have to find new ways to get an apprenticeship here in Ontario, and we're going to offer $2,000 to each apprentice to attract people into the trade. We also have to take a look at those people who have trained somewhere else, foreign trained professional workers, and ensure that they can quickly come up to whatever standards or qualifications we have here in Ontario. The reality is, if we don't have the people to build it, it's not going to be built. So we have to do what we did while we were in government, which is encourage and enhance the trades and raise them up as an important career for Ontario's young people.
Same question to Morgan Gay of the NDP. Ontario desperately needs more skilled tradespeople. How will you help attract and encourage more people to consider a career in the skilled trades?
Well, first and foremost, we need to work with the unions that represent the people that work in the skilled trades. Whether it's the pipe fitters, the electrical workers, the IUPAT, these are the folks who understand the trades best, and this is the work that they do. We also need to invest much more in the programs to allow people to get apprenticeships and to participate in those programs, because the current government, they've made it far more difficult for people to participate in those programs fully. The other thing that we need to do is look closely at wages. If we want more people to work in skilled trades, we need to make sure that people can earn a good living when they're doing that work. Because inflation keeps going up. We have seen a job action recently by carpenters, by painters, by a whole host of other people who work in the skilled trades recently. That's because wages and working conditions are not satisfactory. So the first and foremost, what we need to do if we're going to attract people to work in the trades is speak with the unions and the workers who work in the trades themselves and ensure they have fair working conditions and wages.
Next question. How would you help rebuild Ontario's economy? Nira Dookeran of the Green Party, you have 60 seconds.
You know, for Greens, that's the big $64,000 question that we have an answer to. And that is, we get on board as leaders in the new green economy. This economy versus environment dichotomy that is still very, very much current in public discussions and among the other parties, where we're seemingly balancing what do we do with the environment with how can we stimulate the economy. Really, the economy of the future, and many places are leading us around the world, the economy of the future is with new energy, clean energy, sustainability, retrofits, EVs, and Ontario is lagging behind. And when the present government, the Ford government, scrapped the rebate, my husband and I were on a wait list to get an EV with that $14,000 rebate. We couldn't afford it. We are still driving our gas car because of that. The retrofits, the rebates and government supports for retrofits, that will create jobs, that will create sustainable homes and streets and transportation. That's where the money is. That's where the economic future is. That's the economic engine of the future. And we are missing the boat.
Same question. How would you help rebuild Ontario's economy? John Fraser of the Liberal Party, you have 60 seconds.
Well, I think the critical way right now is to ensure that our education system is going to meet the needs of the 21st century. So we're going to cap class sizes at 20, add an optional grade 13, which is already happening because students want to actually enhance their education before they go on to post-secondary education. The most competitive jurisdictions in the world are looking for the smartest, most educated people. That's the way that we have to go. We're going to invest in public transit. We're going to invest in the environment. So in order to compete in this world where there's carbon pricing, we're going to have to cut our carbon emissions. We're going to have to help companies get net zero. That's the only way that we can compete in this global economy.
Same question. How would you help rebuild Ontario's economy? Morgan Gay of the NDP, you have 60 seconds to answer.
There's a great many things we need to do to rebuild our economy. One of the things we need to do is end our never-ending pursuit that we have seen on the Liberals and the Conservatives of chasing down large American box stores that are basically littered our economic environment nowadays, our landscape. Here in Ottawa and across the province, we need to focus on Canadian business and incentives to create jobs here. The other thing we need to do is focus much more in key sectors like education, healthcare, childcare. This is another area that's going to be growing dramatically. We also need to make sure that people can earn a living wage when they're working. So, if people aren't earning a living wage, they're not able to participate in the economy fully. And so there's a whole host of things that we need to do to rebuild our economy. But first and foremost, we need to make this a place where people can invest. Pharmacare, dental care, childcare, these are all things that we can do to ensure to attract business to our province.
Same question to Laryy Wasslen of the Communist Party. How would you help rebuild Ontario's economy?
This is not something that one individual can do, but we do need solutions to this. And the current approach is to give more breaks to the big corporations. It's to allow them to make maximum profit while the rest of us are struggling to make ends meet. We need to revitalize the Ontario economy by several options. Number one, a massive public housing program to provide affordable housing. We need to nationalize important key industries, such as the resource extraction, such as the automobile industry. When some of these car manufacturers close plants, these should be publicly owned. And we should be directing funds to, for example, produce green automobiles, electric automobiles. So there's a lot of things that we can do. And the best way to do it is for publicly funded, democratically owned corporations here in Ontario. Thank you.
It is now time for your closing statements. As I mentioned earlier, each candidate will have 60 seconds for their closing statement, and we will do that in reverse alphabetical order. Starting with Laryy Wasslen of the Communist Party. You have 60 seconds.
Demand and fight for a people's alternative in Ottawa South. It's time we move beyond choosing friendly managers of capitalism and exploitation every few years. Before and after this election, we can struggle for a people's alternative. We need bold solutions that place people's needs above those of corporations and exploiters. Our vision is to raise wages and living standards, stop the climate and health crisis, expand health, education, and democracy. Let's struggle for greater equality. To win our struggle, we must organize. We must unite the labor and people's movements, including Indigenous nations, youth and students, unemployed and precarious workers, women, the 2S LGBTIQ communities, racialized and immigrant communities into a powerful force for real solutions. Such a force will be able to win a far-reaching economic, social, and political reforms to strengthen our working class movement and open the door for socialism. Vote Communist yes. Organize to defend your rights. Thank you.
Morgan Gay of the NDP, it's now time for your closing statement. You have 60 seconds.
Things keep getting worse in Ontario. Year after year after year. Our healthcare system is a disaster. We have people who can't afford to find a place to live in our community. This did not start with Doug Ford. The Liberals made cuts to healthcare. They froze hospital budgets. They laid off nurses. They had a fractious relationship with people who work in the education sector. It does not need to be that way. And here's the thing. During the pandemic, Bay Street, financiers, developers made billions and billions and billions in profits. The largest corporations, the West End family. Meanwhile, we all had to suffer. So I'm running in this election because I believe it is time for the wealthiest and the largest corporations to start to pay their fair share in our province so that we can finally have the services that we need, so we do not have to continue to see the cuts that we have seen under Liberals and Conservatives, and people can finally have the housing, the medication, the healthcare they deserve.
John Fraser of the Liberal Party. You have 60 seconds for your closing statement.
Well, as I said earlier, I've had the honor of serving as our community's voice here in Ottawa South at Queen's Park. I want to continue to work hard for you on the things that matter most to our families. Excellent healthcare, great schools, protection for the most vulnerable, a clean and safe environment, a strong economy, and good jobs. And now in Ottawa South, and actually across Ontario, families are struggling with rising household costs. So it's really important that we work hard for affordable housing and childcare and the things that are going to make families easier. And I commit to you to going back to Queen's Park to work on those things that are most important to families, our schools, our hospitals, protecting our most vulnerable, a clean and safe environment, and to try to do my very best to ensure that we can make life more affordable and easier for families in Ottawa South and in Ontario.
Nira Dookeran of the Green Party, you have 60 seconds for your closing statement.
Thank you. I'd like to just talk a little bit about diversity and inclusion, because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. And as a teacher, I worked very hard at the Center of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion efforts within the school board here in Ottawa and in Toronto. Everybody matters. Everybody's voice needs to be represented at the tables where decisions are made about our children, our families, our schools, our neighborhoods, our businesses, every aspect of our life. Ottawa South is a growing, vibrant, exciting, diverse community of communities, and we have our unique challenges. As we move forward post-pandemic, hopefully we're in post-pandemic, we have the power to work together in all our diversity to create affordable, safe, and sustainable communities for everyone. I truly believe that the Green Platform offers the most comprehensive, holistic, visionary, and realistic plan to take us there. Thank you for your time, and I hope you join us to create an Ontario that we all want, we all need, and the Greens can lead us there. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our candidates for joining us today. Very much appreciate your time. And of course, thank you for those of you at home that have tuned in. We encourage you to go out and vote and make your voice heard. Also encourage you to tune in to our in-depth coverage of election night right here on Rogers TV.